So hi everyone, welcome to today's presentation. Sorry, I'm just messing with my screens a little bit. We're talking about one of the things that is very near and dear to my heart, which is open source and of course the amazing community that comes along with it. If I have not seen you around this amazing community, my name is Cal Marquez. I work at Bywater Solutions on the Aspen Discovery team. Primarily, I do implementation, so I get to onboard and launch libraries on Aspen, but also provide a lot of great support for our libraries using Aspen. So very excited to be here with you all today. I'm also joined, I don't know if you all want to introduce yourself. You guys might be popping in and kind of commenting on some of this information as I go through it today, but Jesse and Bill are also here today. Got the dream team. Okay, so mostly you won't be seeing my face, you're going to be seeing my slides. So let me just go ahead and get my screen shared. We love when Zoom changes everything like every couple months, just because, like technology, it's got to keep us on our toes here. So, ta-da. Okay. All right. Well, before we dive into community, I wanted to just touch a little bit on open source and what that means. So for me, a little background, I came from working in public libraries for about 8 years before joining Bywater. And the library I worked at last, we had an ILS and we had a discovery layer, and we were primarily using like proprietary vendors. And as a librarian, even though I was very active in, I don't know, like the ALA and my local state organizations and things like that, I felt very detached or like not, I had really no sort of connection with the softwares that we were using to help our patrons, with material selection and placing holds. And it felt very sort of like, okay, there's one person at the system level that sort of tinkers with that. So it was very kind of eye-opening or very eye-opening joining Bywater and learning a lot about the open source community and really what that means. I think it is really unique because with community, we're kind of taking away those barriers that our librarians maybe feel between their vendors, their softwares. It shouldn't be that way. We're all working together towards the same goals. And I love that so much. I've drinking the Kool-Aid with open source. I absolutely love that. And it really resonated with me with my own values as a librarian and with helping patrons. So with that, I found myself to the most amazing open source discovery layer that is Aspen. Aspen Discovery launched officially as Aspen Discovery in 2019. It had some different sort of like code base iterations throughout time, Viewfind, Pika, and today, as we know it, as Aspen Discovery. Of course, there's been a lot of enhancements and features, and if you compare those, some of those things side by side, you might not even be able to recognize those, comparisons. But it's pretty interesting, kind of the evolution that we've seen. The other kind of very exciting thing is that Aspen has a companion app called Aspen Lita. That was launched in November of 2021. And we'll talk a little bit about that more later and how one of our partners actually helped us sort of create Lita. So it's really amazing to see that as well. Another wonderful thing I'd like to point out about Aspen and the community that you'll see a little bit more of is that it's ILS agnostic. What I mean by that is we get to pull in the greatest features of different ILSs. We have users that are using Evergreen, Evolve, Polaris, Sierra, Symphony, Koha. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. Carl X. That's a test. I don't have any notes. So we have all those right there. And it really lets us work with a lot of diverse users and kind of, like I said, use and enhance the best features of all of those ILSs. The other just like wonderful thing about a discovery layer I find in general and with Aspen is that we are able to integrate so many different things. That patron experience, that one-stop shop, one search to rule them all, that is really, really powerful about Aspen. So as a patron, I can go in, I can search across all of our e-content, our events, our archives, just all of the wonderful things that we have to offer. With this, we talk a lot about our goals and what we want to accomplish with Aspen. So these are not only necessarily just for our product of Aspen, but also for our community. These are the things that we focus on together. We want to make sure that Aspen really does help users maximize everything that the library has to offer. Um, Libraries, kind of always have to sort of prove themselves for whatever reason in their communities. So just having a tool that you're already using every day, be able to really show off and highlight all that libraries offer their communities is so, so powerful. Of course, I talked about those ILS integrations. We want to make sure that it really does completely or as closely as possible integrate very seamlessly with those ILSs as well as all of the other third-party and e-content providers that Aspen works with. Who doesn't love easy technology? Today's kind of climate, people expect technology to function. We're all tech users. We walk around with our devices in our hands every day. After work, we get off and we go stream things on the internet and on Netflix and Hulu. And we expect even our library technology, all of our technology to operate and be easy to use. Maybe my favorite one, point 4 on the screen, is make it easy for library admin to customize. As an ex-librarian or a librarian working in libraries, just having that, all the other things that you have to work on and do throughout the day, you don't want your technology to be difficult to manage and maintain. Also in implementations, I still love, even though I've been doing it for 3 years now, I still love when I show users the back end of Aspen and they're like, wow, that's so easy. Or I can check that checkbox or I can easily find that setting. It's just really important to make it very easy and painless for our staff as well. Okay, that's a little bit about the backstory of Aspen and open source, but let's kind of dive more into that community. I tried to break out who our community is and what we're all working towards. Of course, at our heart is the end user, our patrons, our customers, our partners, whatever your community calls them, your stakeholders. With this, I kind of broke out our community into some like 4 major segments. We have our libraries, of course, that's why we're all here. We have the support organizations like Bywater that are here to support our libraries, to make your lives easier. Then we have our amazing contributors that we'll dive into, people doing development, testing, documentation, just those that are showing up in webinars like this today and caring and carving out time to learn more. And then those third-party vendors are all of the integrations that Aspen can pull in. We have to work very, very closely with those other companies, other support vendors, other library vendors to make sure all of this works closely together. All right, so let's focus on the most important piece, the libraries. I just kind of pulled out some of the libraries that are using Aspen Discovery. It is amazing to see all of the different libraries that are able to utilize Aspen, and because it is so customizable. And remember, this also represents those like 7 different ILSs as well. But we support, just at Bywater, there's other companies that support Aspen. We support over 25 different library consortiums, some of those ranging from 4 library systems up to 500 library systems. We have dozens and dozens of public library systems that we support. We have school, both K through 12, so our elementary school, middle, high school, as well as we have academic, community colleges, other academic institutions utilizing Aspen. And then our fun special libraries. We have state libraries, we have museum libraries, we have prison libraries, as well as law libraries. So it's pretty interesting and awesome to get to work with such a diverse user base to be able to bring a product that, it's customizable to all of those libraries' needs. And with libraries, we get a lot of amazing contributions. This is that spirit of open source. I pulled out just a couple, and this does not represent all of the amazing contributions that our community has made. But these are a couple of our Aspen Weekly periodicals that we put out every week. For the last 199 weeks, we put out Aspen Weekly. And we have some guest writers sometimes where we get to highlight some of the amazing things that our libraries are doing with Aspen or doing in the spirit of their patrons. For example, two that I called out, SWAN usability testing, as well as Metropolitan Library System user experience testing. They're actually going into their communities, they're testing their technology with their patrons. Then they're turning around, they're coming back to us, or they're making changes within Aspen, or they're coming to us and saying, this wasn't as clear. Is there something that we can tweak in the code? Is there a better way that we can serve our patrons? So that has been vital to make sure that Aspen represents its end users. Speaking of diverse end users, McKinney Public Libraries was one of our first libraries to create a separate custom kids catalog within Aspen. Kelly Stevens shared how she did this. She also did a presentation, or McKinney did a presentation last year at Aspen Con on how to do this. And now we support dozens and dozens of custom kids catalogs. So these catalogs are, they're like scoped down or restricted down to kids only or juvenile only resources. And they're really, they're targeted at that specific audience. So being able to bring that knowledge, sharing that knowledge to the community, it sparked a ripple effect to other libraries. And now they're building the same thing for their communities. Some other kind of key contributions that I wanted to call out. I touched on this a little bit at the beginning, but Aspen Lita app. Aspen people came to us and they were like, does it have an app? We kept hearing, people love apps, people want apps. And Ajax Library was already using Aspen and they had already built an app. And in the spirit of community, they gave us sort of like the template or the code base for that app. Now, our amazing developers at Bywater, or really one major contributor, Kirsten on the Bywater team, she took that code and she built, and we launched at the end of 2021, the first iteration of Aspen Lita. Today, you really wouldn't, again, if you compared the two, probably wouldn't recognize it. We've done a ton of different developments and enhancements over the last couple of years. But having that initial code base, that spirit of sharing, that spirit of community, we now have over 25 custom or branded Aspen Lita apps. So that's where the library, it's underneath their own kind of brand or marketing. So you wouldn't even know that it's Aspen Lita. And then we have hundreds of other libraries that are using our community Aspen Lita app. So that works very similarly to maybe like an Overdrive or Libby app that you might be familiar with, where you download Aspen Lita and then you search for your local library. The other one I wanted to shout out is Penticton Public Library, but they have been recognized by the National Network for Equitable Library Services for excellence in accessibility. We also have a number of other libraries who use accessibility software to test Aspen, and then they report back on sort of like pass-fail scores. We prioritize those enhancements and developments to make sure that Aspen is always kind of meeting or exceeding those standards. So any of that type of feedback where you're investing in that in your technology and that you can provide us, it's only going to help and make all of the code for Aspen that just more accessible for all of our users and that community. The other thing is we have a lot of libraries that have amazing talent on their teams. I find CSS and JavaScript and HTML to be wizardry. I am so amazed by anybody that can just look and create and build things in the way that they do. And what we're doing in the Aspen community is we're tapping into those users that are willing to share that code with us. Maybe it's small things like, can this have a rounded edge? Or could this be a different color than this? Or maybe it's really big things like, moving things across a page or adding additional like buttons or things. Whatever it is, big or small, when you share that custom code, we try to gather as much as possible and put it into what we call our code library on our help center. Now, there are some caveats with that because it is other people's code. It is really hard for us always to be able to fully support that. And also, it sort of allows us not to guarantee that it's 100% maybe mobile responsive or fully accessible. So those are my little asterisks with that. If we can at all possible, we'll take enhancements that started off with the like a CSS or a JavaScript code snippet, and we'll try to move it into the base code. A great example of this is Darien Library had a whole new vision for the way that browse categories looked on the homepage. They did extensive work, putting in sort of like code to make that look a certain way. And then libraries loved it so much. Thanks, Darien Library, but we took that and we put it into the base code of Aspen so that other libraries didn't need to, just manually put in that snippet. We rolled it out to all libraries. But that vision, that inspiration, that work, it was for sure from that library and that talent from there. So thank you to any library that's, coming to us with that feedback, bringing their talent, sharing that with the entire community. Okay. The other part, one of the other pieces that I shared in the community are our support organizations. These organizations work very closely together to make sure that Aspen Discovery code is secure and that those new enhancements that we keep adding, that they keep reflecting the changing needs of our libraries. Because some libraries, they're focused on that academic need, or that end user, or some are in the public sort of space. We have international libraries that have different compliance that they need to work on. But sharing all one code base, we all come together to make sure that at the end of the day, libraries are getting, and their users, that they're getting that very stable, very secure, very modern, cutting edge technology that they deserve. So here are just a few of the different support organizations representing Aspen that I just wanted to share and thank for all of their contributions. Another key piece here was those third-party vendors. This slide is really just reflective of the direct sort of integrations that Aspen has. This does not fully reflect all of the third-party vendors that we work with. But for databases, services like EBSCO and Summon, we work with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 plus growing e-commerce vendors. For API connections, for e-content, Boundless, Cloud Library, Hoopla, Libby, Palace Project, I'll talk about that in a second, and then events integrations. We now have 4 calendar integration platforms that we work with. If you haven't seen this, it is amazing. I used to work in outreach and marketing, and what this does is it allows our libraries that are already subscribing to these events platforms for us to harvest or pull in that event data. Not only does that give you an events interface that you can directly search, but Aspen is able to use the keywords in your event descriptions and like your event titles and the descriptions to be able to match users to events they might be interested in. So if I'm searching for a book on yoga, or maybe I know that you have a yoga DVD, and I just search yoga in the regular catalog, Aspen is going to show me that you have chair yoga next week. And I'm going to be very, very excited about that because I had no idea that my library had such amazing programs. So very, very cool with that. And we work with all of these vendors very closely. A note on Palace Project. Our developers worked very, very closely with Palace Project. As far as I know, we're the only discovery layer using that API for them. And it was something that we built with them together over a 2-year process. So that close working relationship with other vendors is very, very important in the spirit of open source and the spirit of Aspen. All right, another kind of piece to this are our contributors. So I've broken down this into a few different pieces. Of course, we have our developers and our development. Aspen is, based on code, and we need those skilled people that can get into Aspen and make those enhancements, make those fixes, make sure all those API connections work. We have several different full-time dedicated developers across the Aspen Discovery community at those various support vendors that I shared. But also we get a lot of contributors from individual libraries. So in these kind of release notes I pulled out, we had some from Howell Carnegie District Library, as well as Nashville Public Library. We see a lot of our library staff that have set up development environments and they've submitted code. So it's really, really cool to see. Each month, Aspen has a release, and we always publish our release notes with that. You can access this in your Aspen admin backend under Aspen Discovery support. We also send out a corresponding press release. So if you follow somebody like Marshall Breeding or you are subscribed to our Bywater Solutions newsletters, you'll always be in the know the day that the release notes come out. So keep track of those. You can see exactly who's contributing to that code. And sometimes you might even see your own support ticket or your enhancement or something that you've been waiting for. So definitely kind of keep track of that to see what's going on each month. The other thing that we need in our community is quality assurance. So developers, they put their heads down, they work and they do amazing developments, but it's always great to kind of have that sort of person who can like look over your shoulder and you just hand it to them and say like, can you look at this for me? And that's what QA really is. It's somebody else that can get in, it can replicate that thing that they have built, make sure that it works fully so that when we do roll it out to our patrons, that it's seamless. The libraries that have test servers with us at Bywater, we have several that do, they will get that new release code about 2 weeks prior to that full rollout to the rest of the libraries in the community. If you do access those release notes, usually we call out maybe specific things to be tested. Also, if you're a part of our Aspen Discovery Slack channel, there's even a testing channel where you can go and you can talk about the various things each month you're testing. That is an amazing way to contribute to the community. So even if, like me, the code part intimidates you a little bit, or a lot of it, if you can get in there and you have access to one of those servers that gets the early iteration of code, you don't know how invaluable it is to us for you to go in and to test those things. So it is an amazing way to contribute to the community. And then just let us know what you found. Give us the thumbs up in the testing channel that thing worked. Give us the thumbs down in the support ticket and let us know, hey, this wasn't working as expected. And then that gives us time to work with our community of developers to make sure that we're able to fix those issues before they reach the patrons. So we want it to be very seamless, pain-free, and with that, we just really rely a lot on our libraries helping us with that testing. Another big contributor is documentation. So right now, the most recognized help resource, if you haven't been there, bookmark it, memorize it, tattoo it, help.aspendiscovery.org. This has all of our documentation for Aspen Discovery. But right now, the Aspen community is kind of looking for additional ways to have more users be able to contribute to that documentation. I will touch on the Aspen Community meeting in a minute, but if you attend that meeting and you love technical documentation or just writing, you want to contribute in some way, this is a really, really great way to be able to contribute to the Help Center. So we're working on kind of getting folks access and being able to get you direct access to update that Help Center. There is also a feedback form in the meantime. Even if you just come across something that maybe you have a suggestion for, you want more of, or you could even put in, this is how you do this and submit it. We will look at that and we can add it to the Help Center that way as well. So that's also very, very helpful. If you ever come across something that seems wrong or is just missing or you wish you could have found, we get email alerts on that and we'd be happy to add anything that's missing. Okay, so here we're getting into those community meetings. I'll show you where you can access all of these. But first I wanted to sort of touch on some of the different types of community meetings. We have the Aspen Gathering. That is our OG Aspen meeting. This started, man, I feel like it started maybe even almost 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago now. This one is hosted by Bywater Solutions. It has gone through a number of kind of different formats and iterations. But the key thing here is we want to meet with you every month face to face, and we want to check in with our community. We want to show the new code that is coming out in the monthly release. We want to be able to highlight the different developers and support organizations that are also working on that code at this meeting. We want to go through, any other maybe big changes or things that are upcoming that we think that libraries might be, interested in or should really pay attention to in that new release. Also, we love to see your faces. I think last month we had 78 people. I mean, there's no better day of the month for me than the first Thursday of the month at 2 p.m. Eastern. I love to see all of you. I love to joke with you in the chat. Like it brings home that feeling of community when we all get to see each other. So if you haven't come, please come. We would love to see you. Even if you're not using Aspen yet and you just kind of want to see what is the Aspen community about, I definitely encourage you all to come to that. From the Aspen gathering, a Aspen community meeting has spun off maybe like about a year and a half ago, and that is hosted by the Aspen community members. So Aspen community members, they're running the show. They're putting together that agenda. They're highlighting and bringing up things that are priorities to them. So it's been really amazing to see how libraries start generating those conversations themselves. And it really is an opportunity to share how you're using Aspen, maybe just general questions for other libraries, and really coming together to set the course for the future developments and future community priorities. There are also a number of other meetings. So this might be the part of the show where you might want to grab your phone. I tried to put a QR code here if you do want to scan it, but community.aspendiscovery.org/community. There is a calendar there, and also it lists out all of the different groups and organizations or meetings that you can get involved in. If you love cataloging, there's a catalogers group that meets. If you want to contribute or just learn more about the development of Aspen, there's an Aspen developers group that meets. There are a number of different ILS specific groups because ILS users might have specific things with Aspen, maybe different things that come up than maybe other ILS groups. So if you identify with one of those groups, you can definitely attend and see what those groups are talking about as well. And then from time to time, a working group or a specific thing might pop up from the main Aspen community meeting that takes a little bit more of like a spin-off. So one right now that's going on is the community tool working group. So with Aspen, we are a pretty new community in that we've been around for about 4 years. It's a very, very exciting time to join and participate in the Aspen community. We are really like paving the future of what this community is going to look like. And a part of that is making sure we have really, really great transparent tools that all of our community members can access. So right now, we're working on something that would allow libraries and all support organizations to really be able to see what developments people are working on. What developments or enhancements have libraries requested? Maybe I want to go in and leave a comment or a thumbs up. I don't guarantee the thumbs up is there. I haven't seen the final choice of the product, but I sure hope that there's a thumbs up on that. So I say, yeah, I'm Cal and I want that enhancement too, or like that would be great. So that's going on right now. If you're interested in that conversation, we'd love to hear your voice about that. And you'll be able to find all of those meetings on that site. And this is what it looks like when you go there. Just a little screenshot of our community calendar. We try to put all of those meetings here. If you click on the calendar, you can add it as a recurring meeting invite on your calendar. You'll be able to access any agenda, any notes, any Zoom link. So definitely check this calendar for the most up-to-date information. And very, very exciting, Aspen Con 2025. Last year, Aspen had, this year, it's still 2024. This year, we had Aspen Con 2024 in Golden, Colorado. Here are some of the folks that were lucky enough to attend. And we are very, very excited to be planning Aspen Con 2025 in October of 2025. So not next month, a year from next month. We are starting the planning process. So if you have events planning, any sort of experience in that, or maybe just want to be a speaker, or just, just really excited and you want to give back or, volunteer in some way. We would really, really appreciate you coming out, learning more at the Aspen Con planning meetings. And let's see, I know we're at time-ish, but I thought it would be fun to allow everyone here to be a part of the community right now. So if you do have your phone out and you want to scan this QR code, you should be able to vote for the logo that we're going to have at AspenCon 2025. And it might seem like a small thing, but there is no small contribution in the Aspen community or in the open source community. So if you want to vote for one of these amazing logos, we are right in the process right now of an AspenCon 2025 logo contest. So I thought it would be fun to officially welcome all of you to the Aspen community. And hey, you participated today. So if you didn't get the QR code, there's a link there as well in the chat to AspenCon 2025, and that will allow you to vote for one of these amazing choices. That is all I have for today. I thank you all so much for being a part of this amazing community. Jesse next month is going to be talking about Koha and Aspen, the dynamic duo. And if you have any other questions about anything that I went over today or I talked about today, please, Bill or I would love to talk to you. We like to talk a lot. If you haven't been able to tell by my 30 minutes of rambling, we'd love to talk to you about the community and how you can get involved.